Hello, my name is Maggie Rigsby, and this is my ASL 302 final project presentation. To begin, in chapter 1, we learned about culture, and my definition of culture is the collection of beliefs or traditions that a group of people or community and company, and they pass this belief on to the generations that follow them. Culture is always changing from each generation because as time changes, things become more progressive and things change with time. Culture has five landmarks: language, heritage, customs, arts, and family or cultural players. I thought cultural players was a really fun topic to learn about because I never thought about that a lot of deaf people who have hearing parents, they don't have that direct transmitted deaf culture through them because the majority of culture is transmitted through hereditary and family lines. So, moving on, the history of deaf culture, there are two main contributors to the start and spread of sign language in America. So, the first one is Lawrence Clerk, which I'll be talking more thoroughly about in the next slide. And then the second one is Martha's Vineyard Sign Language. This was brought this was in America present before Lawrence Clerk brought French Sign Language over to America. This was a common dialect between people who migrated towards Hartford, Connecticut, and this increased the large population of deaf people. Martha's Vineyard Sign Language evolved from Old Kentish Sign Language, and Clark was the first teacher of the deaf and co-founder of the first American School for the Deaf. And then Thomas Hopkins Gallaudet, he had a neighbor named Mason Coxwell with a deaf daughter, and he noticed that she had trouble communicating and participating in activities with her classmates because she was deaf, and he traveled to France to try to discover a teaching method or just a way to spread awareness or education for the deaf in America. And he saw Clerk's potential and he asked him to come to America with him to spread the education. With that, William Stoke was the one who proclaimed ASL a language and he created the first ASL dictionary. So, more about Lawrence Clerk. He was a highly respected educator. 60% of ASL signs derived from French Sign Language. He helped fund the first deaf school for America, and he was also the first deaf person to speak in front of a Congress. And his teaching methods will continue to be carried on to future generations of deaf education. Different communication channels. We have ASL, American Sign Language, and then PSE, Pigeon Signed English, and then C, or Signed Exact English. So something that I will note, Nancy from a DCS, I do not remember her last name. She told me at the Beth Driver meetup, excuse me, that she notices that a lot of ASL educators are teaching ASL in Sign Exact English format, and she just wants that to be known that that is not how ASL was originated and that's not its native form. And I think that was a really important aspect to grasp from that meetup. So if I was deaf, basically I would choose ASL because it gets to the point and it involves less finger spelling, which I'm not a giant fan of finger spelling, which PSE and Sign Exact English do involve more of. So cochlear implants, why are some deaf people so against cochlear implants? My perspective changed on cochlear implants when I watched Through Deaf Eyes because the father of the deaf son, named Christopher DeHam, he gave his perspective on feeling like sometimes hearing parents with deaf children often think that a cochlear implant is the fastest option to recovery or It's just a way to fix their child's deafness and make their child have an easier way in life. And he just wanted to like emphasize that that was a misconception and that like his children is he has two children, so his children are still deaf with the cochlear implant, and I think that's why some people who are deaf have such a negative connotation with them because they think that people get them in order to fix their deafness, and deaf people do not think that being deaf is something that they need to fix. So, on to interpreters and ethics. So, interpreters go by a guideline, ethical guideline that they have to abide by, and it has multiple rules, and some that I noted were they have to be confidential with information. Confidentiality within interpreting is the main source of trust within a relationship within an interpreter and a client. They have to engage in professional development, and it's important that they demonstrate respect to the consumer and everyone else around them. Lastly, they need to conduct themselves in a manner appropriate for the work setting. So, next to ASLE that I attended was the Sarah Joyner Deaf Culture series. I asked her various questions, one including how she felt about hearing actors portraying deaf roles in films, and I asked her if she thought it was unethical that this happens a lot in films. And to my surprise, she answered no, but she does notice the lousy acting within the hearing counterparts because they obviously do not know how to transmit deaf culture into a film because they have no idea what it's like, which is exactly why she said she does not find it offensive. She said um, it is not offensive because they have no idea what it's like to be in our shoes. So I thought that was really inspiring. So, on deaf education, we have mainstream schools, which have one or maybe two deaf students among hearing classmates. And this is where they are trying to get accustomed to like a hearing lifestyle. And then we have the residential schools, which are all deaf people, and they are boarding schools. You have to move there, and they're using their native languages in these types of schools. And my perspective changed when I read Madison's post because I think that I should also give my child the aspect or the opportunity to make their own beliefs about which education they should pursue. So, deaf sports, I never really enjoyed watching sports until I watched some of the Deaf Olympics, and my favorites was the karate, gymnastics, and the swimming. So the ADA case that I chose was the one about Netflix closed captioning. This event happened June 16th, 2011. Netflix is having a lawsuit filed against them having closed captions against them for not having closed captions on productions. This event happened in Springfield, Massachusetts. The ADA confirmed that, sorry, the ADA confirmed that no information about accessibility for web services because it wasn't written before that was invented. And then a year later, the judge was ruled in favor of the NAD, and Netflix was forced to pay 800K in legal fines. So, based on discrimination, deaf people want to be coined as their discrimination as autism because they don't feel like they're disabled, which implies if they say ableist. They are just lacking an auditory component and they don't feel like they're disabled, so they want to be referred to as that's autist, not disabled, because that implies that they are disabled.